unmute him? Is that easier for you to do that?
I don't know if it makes a difference for me because I think you're the host, but I did notice that when you unmute me, it still asked me to do a second time, like to allow the unmuting. So like you did it, but I still had to confirm you trying to unmute me.
Okay, okay. So you guys have to confirm. So it looks like Dave, I unmuted you and you unmuted yourself. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Dave Mann, just longtime area resident, run the trails for many years. And I'm also the athletic director at Westfield Prep School, which just was in its first year this year at, it's behind the McDonald's at Telegraph in Plymouth. So if we're ever allowed to see our kids in the future, hopefully we'll have kids able to utilize the park for different things in the years ahead.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Sam?
I'm one of the trustees for Friends of Rouge Park. I'm also with the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan. Haven't really gone too far in the last few months. I was on paternity. We have a little one who's 5 months, and we're hoping with all the nicer weather, we can take both our kids, our toddler and Infant, out to Rouge Park. It has been since it was snowy that I was out there in a long while for the others. So good to see so many folks coming on virtually.
Great. Paul?
Hello, I'm Paul Stark, recording secretary. I'm taking the minutes of the meeting. Well, I'm collecting unemployment because my job requires a lot of personal contact. Give me a lot of time to do a lot of historical research on Rouge Park. And we're going to have later in the meeting a short report on the work of the history committee. So,
Great, thank you. Paula?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Paula Treletti. I am the membership chairperson for Friends of Rouge Park and also the president of West Outer Drive Civic Association, which borders Rouge Park along West Chicago and Outer Drive. I'm really happy to see so many people attending the meeting tonight, and I am hanging in there, doing fine.
Great, thank you. Jim?
Hi, I'm Jim Westfall, and I've been working with the History Committee, and Paul and I and Frederick have been doing some research on newspapers.com. I think I've done 1950 through about 55, and a lot of work, real fascinating, and glad to be part of the group. So look forward to the things that we'll do in the future.
Thank you. Looks like, oh, I muted you. There you are, unmuted. Catherine, you're up.
Good evening, glad to be here. Catherine Underwood with Elite Archery Academy and a planner with the City of Detroit. Blessed to be working remotely. And that's kind of hard to do as a planner, but I do like the flexibility of working at home. And hanging in there and glad to be here tonight.
Great, and I am impressed by your background. I could not figure that one out unless that's real, and I don't think so.
Sure, that's what my backyard looks like.
Beautiful. Okay, Bernard Parker, looks like you're up.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Bernard Parker III, Director of Commission Affairs for Wayne County. I'm here representing Alicia Bell. As far as coping, we're doing quite well, I have to say. No issues. Work is continuing. Everything now is, of course, electronic and Zoom. Emails, text messages. The legislative side of Wayne County has not stopped. I mean, we're holding our committee meetings, our full board meetings. We're passing resolutions. approving contracts, reviewing information that the county exec sends down relative to things like grants for small businesses and such. The chair is working with Warren Evans on the budget side. I'm sure everyone has heard of our revenues are down about 152 million. She's working with Warren Evans, the treasurer, Kathy Garrett, the sheriff's department. So things are moving. In fact, my understanding, the chair not too long ago, I think it was last week, went out to feed some seniors, helped out some first responders by way of lunches. We communicate through social media now, which is interesting, even more through things like Twitter or Facebook or, again, the Zoom meetings. She's had a few Facebook town halls. She's got one coming up for her district. So even though we don't have that per se, that touching of folk, we're still able to see each other by way of Zoom, again, by way of telephone calls or text messages. And far as chair is concerned, county's not going to stop because we have too much stuff to do.
Yep.
We have had some layoffs, but folk need to realize on the legislative side, because there's 3 various branches for county government. When you talk about the executive side, the legislative side, and then the judicial side. For the legislative side, we've always ran lean, and she's always believed in having a tight budget. So, you know, many of us, if not all of us, are used to doing a lot more with less, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Fortunately, we all have our own computers, cell phones, things like that. And so we're doing what we have to do to keep things moving. And then lastly, I just want to thank you all for inviting us to this meeting. So have a blessed evening, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone on this call.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna, you are up next. Let's see, I'm trying to unmute Donna. Are you still there, Donna? Some people may be having some technical difficulties. Donna was on earlier, but I'm not seeing her. I will move on. Oh, Donna, you there? No? I'm going to move on to Lisa Harris. Do you want to introduce yourself? Okay, this is a little harder than being in a big old room where I can make people introduce themselves. Hey, Lisa, how about Peggy Dankert?
Hi, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, great.
My first Zoom.
That's fine. There you are. Now we see you.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm Lisa Harris, and I'm a resident, and I work in Detroit. And I'm just here. I've gone to a couple meetings, and so I'm just, really interested in Friends of Rouge right now. And I'm one of the essential workers, so I have been working through the whole things. I haven't been staying at home or working from home either, like a lot of other people. But I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try Peggy one more time.
Hi. Let me see.
She's doing this. This is Peggy Dankert.
There we go. I'm enjoying not going to hardly any meetings. What do I live in close to the park, and I'm in the park almost every day, and I usually stop and see the herons up at the heronry. And either the herons are ahead of schedule or the tree leaf out is later. This is the biggest I've ever seen the nestlings, and they're like standing up and waving their wings, and I don't know how close. I've never been able to tell before other years when they left the nest, but maybe this year I'll be able to tell when the nestlings have made the jump. We'll see. So for whatever that's worth. So,
Great. Do you want to show us what the high water looks like right now, since you happen to be right down there?
okay.
Like the archery range there.
Oh,
I went upside down.
where are we here?
Is that the archery range sign that you can see like underwater?
Yeah, see the bleachers there? Almost all underwater.
Mhm. It's where Alicia's Bell's funding is going to put in that new shade structure. And I see the andalaser, and that looks like maybe a trash can there.
Yeah, yeah, this morning, the trash can was just a little bit, had water at its bottom, so the water's gone up since this morning.
Yeah.
And then we got some of the fence looks like it might be just come loose at the bottom.
Wow.
That's all.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We're going to have to move on because we do have some business to get to. So let me see who, Eric, do you want to introduce yourself? Eric Falks?
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Hey, guys. This is Eric Folks. I'm the Deputy District Manager for District 7 in the Mayor's office. Happy to be on the call.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've never seen it like this.
Ray-
It's been like this.
Okay, I'm going to mute Peggy up there. Sounds like she's talking to people out in the park. Ray Sean, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Ray Sean Landrum. I'm working with the City of Detroit as a landscape architect. I'm responsible for parks in District 7 and a portion of District 5.
Great, thank you. And we'll hear from you a little bit later.
Yes.
Patrick Droz.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Droz. I was at the January meeting, but I'm an engineer with a consultant for DWSD, and just thought we'd dial in to see what was going on tonight. Thank you.
Okay, and if we have time, maybe you can update us on the projects.
We can do that.
Okay, great. One more person, LG Stylo. I'm not sure who that is. Did you want to introduce yourself? Okay. I am just going to move on now, and I'm going to start just by sharing my screen with the, let's see, here's our, oh gosh, can you see the agenda?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start with minutes from last month, and I guess I'm going to have to sort of reshare my screen to give the minutes from last month. Paul, do you want to unmute yourself? And do you want me to share that, or do you want to share that?
Do you have it handy to share? I can do it.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead.
Okay. So there we go. Okay, so we had 16 people at the meeting, and the city ombudsman, Bruce Simpson, introduced himself and gave a brief overview of the functions of the ombudsman's office. He mentioned that DTE will start working in Rouge Park to do training for poll workers and tree trimmers. Minutes of January were read and accepted. Paul moved, Roger seconded. Treasurer's report for January 2020. Our last meeting was February. That's why this is dated information. The expenses were $85.91, income $2,574.36, which included $2,500 donation from GM Cares. So our balance was $16,929.47. Membership report for January 2020 by Paula Treletti. 6 members renewed, total members 114, total organizations 20. We added new membership levels, supporting for $25, sustaining 50, Pathfinder 100, Trailblazer 250, and River Wanderer for 500. President's Report, Wednesday, February 12th through Sunday, February 16th. Detroit Outdoors, working with National Wildlife Foundation Cultural Exchange Youth Program, began tapping maple trees for a circle on the Stonebridge Trail. February 17th, Sally, Ashley, Roger, and Paul gave Jen Fianto, REI, a tour of the park and discussed ideas for REI to become involved in developing infrastructure and programming in the park. Between $2,500 and $8,000 will be available as a grant. Our intern, Ashley Bowl, has been developing a list of potential volunteer work sites in the park. She will be taking the pesticide test tomorrow. She is working on putting our nature trails online on different hiking websites and apps. Our Kresge-Kipke grant draft proposal has been accepted, and we have been invited to submit a full grant proposal for $35,000. It is due in March. Designated parking proposal. The county has communicated with the city expressing that they approve the creation of designated areas on the county roads in the park, but they are not willing to purchase or install the signage. They are asking the city to do so. We are speaking with the city about the possibility of using the nursery building and the mill building for our Friends of Rouge Park office and perhaps storage for Scout Hollow camping equipment. Winter sports area comfort station has been boarded up. March 24th annual dinner meeting include elections of our board of directors. The historical committee met with the city archivist, Andrea Gallucci, on January 29th. History committee members are planning a public event to invite people to bring photos and other information on the history of Rouge Park. Members are also visiting local museums, libraries, and combing through newspapers.com. Articles for historical information on Rouge Park. April 25th, 9:30, Earth Day cleanup at Buffalo Soldiers Heritage Association, meeting adjourned at 7:45 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Paul, for that very quick summation. I am going to, let me see, I'm going to unmute all of you and ask if there's first, oh, how do I do that? Unmute all. First, ask if there's any questions. Just raise your hand or start speaking. Any questions? Barring none, I am going to ask if there's a motion to approve the minutes as read.
I move to approve.
Okay, Paula moved and Roger second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, Paul. Next on the agenda would be the treasurer's report, and I think Paul has a report from Tamara.
Yes, did you want me to put that up there? I sent it, do you want me to?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and put it up there.
Okay, I think. No, I thought I gave, oh, I think this is it. That looks like it. Okay, so the, now this is for April, last month. The total expenses were $1,253. And you can see the breakdown there underneath. The total revenue was $585, which includes our first $500 River Wanderer membership. Our ending balance is now $14,945.50.
Hey, thank you. Looking pretty good right now. And then let's see, next item would be membership report. Paula?
Hi, everyone. This membership report is for April. It ends April 30th. Last month, we had 7 people pay. We had one individual renewal, 1 family renewal, 1 individual new member, and 1 new family membership. So that was a total of, I'm sorry, that was a total of 6 members. We currently have 119 paid individual members, which was 3 more than last month, and 20 organization supporters. Also, I have not taken anyone off of our membership list because they have not paid dues, because people were unable to pay their dues. Many people pay their dues at our annual meeting, and since we had to cancel due to COVID-19, I haven't removed people from our membership list I have been sending reminders and asking people to pay their dues either by PayPal or by making a copy of the membership form and mailing it to them. So if you haven't paid your dues, or if you need to know if you owe your dues, you can always send me an email at pjtriletti, which is TRILETY, the number 2 at yahoo.com, and I will send you the appropriate form. That's it.
Thank you, Paula. Any questions? Okay, I am going to go back to the agenda here. Okay, so President's Report. I guess really the main thing on my agenda is how the pandemic has affected us all. And, you know, my sympathies go out to anybody who's lost loved ones, has sick loved ones, has gotten sick, and people who've lost jobs, lost income, need services. And I do know, you know, there's some community people online. There's a whole lot of resources in the city that are being offered. And I know a lot of you have been involved in that. Even Barb and Joe Matney have been, you know, providing free food for people in the neighborhood. So take advantage of any of those services. And in our case, we had to cancel all of our events because obviously we can't, you know, organize groups of people. Broke our hearts to have to cancel our cleanups. You know, we probably would have had another 300-400 people out for our annual cleanup with the AmeriCorps for Rouge Park Appreciation Day because they wanted to participate again. You know, we always get so much done and it's great to have people out there, but we had to make the decision to cancel. You know, it's sad to be canceling these events, but on the flip side, you know, Rouge Park is open and it's one of the best places to go because you don't have to worry so much about, you know, coming into contact with other people. A lot of nature out there. It's you know, it's such a great resource that we have. One of the other things we had to do is our intern Ashley, her main role was to be organizing volunteer groups in the park. And she contacted us and she just was really frustrated by the situation and agreed to go on, you know, to be laid off for a few months until things get better. So I don't know yet when we're going to bring her back on, but we hope to when we can. Board elections. So we were planning to have board elections at our annual meeting. We actually had postponed the elections we usually do in the fall to have it at the annual meeting. Given the situation, our board met last week and decided to just keep the existing board in place until time as we can have an annual meeting, which may not be until next year. We just needed to make that decision because it's just not a time where we could try to hold an election. We were hoping this year to attract more people who might have some complementary skills, you know, lawyer skills, accountant skills, things like that. We always can use that for our board. So please keep that in mind and let me know if you are interested. So currently the board is made up of myself as president, Arthur Edge as vice president, treasurer Tamara Dyson, secretary Paul Stark, membership chair, Paula Triletti, recording secretary, Lorraine Harris, and then trustees, Roger Corpolongo, Peggy Dankert, Sam Shapinski, and Garrett Dempsey. Did I forget anybody? We've got a great board. Moving on to the city and the Friends of Rouge Park response. The Friends of Rouge Park are part of an organization called the Detroit Parks Coalition, which is the 5 major regional, like staffed, well not so much staffed, but the 5 larger parks in the city. So Palmer, Chandler, Clark, Belle Isle, and Rouge. And when this pandemic hit and things started to get a little bit dicey in Rouge Park, that group set up a meeting with some of the officials from the city. And that's when we got the strong message from the city that while Rouge Park can remain open, we really need to make sure that people do not use the playgrounds and the basketball courts just because the virus can live for up to 3 days, and we just don't want to expose kids to that. So the city was really unable to put many resources to that because when the pandemic hit, they made the decision to take most of the recreation department staff and reassign them to the testing center. So they didn't have much staff. So some of us went out there and actually purchased caution tape. And so it was our group who put the caution tape around the playground equipment, just to send a message for people coming out there with their kids that they would see that caution tape and say, oh, maybe it's not a good idea to let my kids go run around and potentially get exposed to the virus. A little while later, we started to run into this problem where
This was an X.
oops, I'm going to mute you for a minute there, Marlene, but I'm glad you could join us. We were really upset by the fact that the city had not allocated resources for people to empty the trash and then start cutting the grass. And so we worked with city officials to say, hey, that is an allowed activity even under the governor's shutdown. So eventually the city was able to allocate staff for the parks, and they've already started to cut the grass. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. So we've been meeting with them weekly. It's been really great to actually give them feedback and have them respond. I'll talk a little bit later about the issue with ATVs in the park. We're trying to get some response. And I guess that's going to move me on to a report from the city of Detroit. Both Juliana Fulton and Rayshawn Landrum are here. And I wanted them to give a report from the city and also update us on the projects in the park. We had so many projects that were coming online that it would be great to get kind of a status update. I'm happy to hear most of those are moving forward. So turn it over to Juliana.
Okay. Thanks, Sally. So just a really quick update. Hopefully you all have been getting emails. I noticed that Eric was on the call from the district manager's office. They've been doing a great job sending out information related to how to stay safe and food distribution and anything that you might need. So I'd be happy to share the park related stuff that we have. And if you have anything else, maybe Eric could answer that. So we have nearly $500 million of deficit that's projected right now, which we're working really hard to not go under state management again. So there's been a lot of funding that's been reallocated for emergency response. A lot of staff that's been reallocated for that as well. Almost all of our entire programming staff, so basically most of the rec department, was either furloughed to 10% of their normal hours or completely laid off. Paul, I'm sorry to say, Andrea, the archivist that you met with, she's one of the folks that's gotten laid off. Our community engagement coordinator also got laid off, so it's been tricky. Our rec centers, most of them are now doing food distribution or are serving as temporary homeless shelters. So they're still open in some capacity to help folks, but not as rec centers. Programming for, I think, up until August, last I heard, has been canceled. So perhaps we're going to be able to do some programming then. But, it's hard to predict. I think everyone keeps saying maybe in a couple weeks, but it looks like we've gone ahead and said that nothing's going to happen until August so that we can allocate those resources. And that includes any capital improvements that could get reallocated, partly because of the huge deficit that we're looking at, as well as just that we're increasing our spending for all this stuff that needs to be addressed for emergency response. So I think fortunately most of the Rouge Park projects were already underway, so that's not affected. It's any new projects, and the only new project that we had coming on board that was city funded was a parking lot and a bathroom over at Cozy Corner. So that's still planned to happen, but now it's been postponed until spring 2021 to start And I can get into the details about the bond funds if people are curious, but it's bond funded, so the funds are secured, but it's going to take a little longer because we're not going after the bonds right now because of the current market state. See, I also have a little flyer about park do's and don'ts. I think most people on this call probably already know not to play team here. I'll just share it really quick. Can I share that, Sally? Yeah.
Too.
Just really quickly, here's the flyer we have. So don't use playground equipment or play team or contact sports. So basically anything where you're in something that's a high touch area or involves being close to other people. But we are encouraging people to get out, bike, walk, exercise, use the outdoors safely, as long as you stay at least 6 feet apart. And as Sally says, in Rouge Park is maybe one of our best parks to do that because there's so much space. You really can do a lot and spend all day out there without worrying about coming too close to other folks. Okay, so I think I stopped sharing my screen. Okay, and just a personal update on me and our team is I'm now at 80%. So and most of the landscape architects are as well. So we're still working. It's called work share. So there's like these tiers of complete layoff, only working 10%, which unfortunately Jack Kyle is at the moment, but hopefully she'll be coming back on soon. And then the 80% are work share, which is Rayshawn and myself. So again, I think we're pretty lucky. We're still here. We're still working 80% and getting a majority of our pay plus a little bit of unemployment. So I feel like we're lucky. Some staff on the GSD side has been reallocated to the testing center at State Fair, and which is now free for everyone. So if you just make an appointment, you can go and get tested. You don't need a doctor's prescription like you have until recently. So that's great, a great option and opportunity. I've heard good. I haven't gone myself, but I've heard good things about it being very efficient and safe and clean. So yep, that's at Woodward and south of 8 Mile. Okay, I think that's all for my general updates. I'm going to pass it on to Rayshawn to talk about the specific construction projects.
Yes, hello everyone.
Hi.
So we'll talk about the various projects going on in Rouge Park. I will start by saying all projects have been continued. So Rouge North has started and will continue to start. And actually, being that we are in this COVID situation, the splash pad is most likely not to be open this year. But the park and the construction will still be going on and be open.
We'll still build it. So when we can and
yes.
we're ready.
Correct.
Yeah, yep. And Rayshawn, can you maybe like just refresh everyone's memory what like just the bigger scope items of what Rouge North is?
Yes. So for Rouge North, we will be having proposed splash pad, to picnic shelters, playground areas, and other site amenities. So if you guys are familiar with Rouge North, the Brennan Pool area, behind the pools will be the splash pad, and there will also be picnic shelter, a walkway that leads from the parking lot to the splash pad, and also the picnic shelter. There also will be a playground area as well. On the west side of that, by the basketball area and also the existing playground. And I'm not sure if you guys have did a recent visit, but that playground has been removed and it will be replaced with a brand new playground. And we also have been, we renovated the Horseshoe Courts. That is actually one of the first pieces to be done if you guys haven't been out there yet. And then the other project will be Rouge Sorensen.
Rayshawn, could you just go? I just had one question about
yes.
the Rouge North. Does that include tennis courts and pickleball, or is that future?
Oh yes. I'm sorry. Yes. That one slipped my mind. Yes. So there once was the tennis courts there. We are going to be putting the tennis courts back with the pickleball courts. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, but I think there's fewer of them, right, Sean?
Yes.
Yes, so the proposed will be, I believe it's 2 tennis courts, yes.
And that'll happen this year.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we do have the option to expand in the future if funding and the need becomes available. So
great.
Yes. Did we have any other questions in regards to Rouge North?
Yes. Did you say the Horseshoe Court is done or it's still under construction?
No, actually, that's done. That's actually one of the first pieces that got done. But
Yes,
yes,
someone just told me they saw it.
I'm sorry.
Where specifically is it located?
It's right in the island, off of Spinoza before you get to the Brennan Pool area.
like the parking lot up there. It's
Yep.
right south of the big parking
Kind
lot.
of across from that picnic shelter.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions with Rouge North?
Yeah, I have a question. I emailed you about the signage, and
Yes.
really want to have a well-developed wayfinding system and signage that's consistent throughout the park. And I sent you that example of like how Hines Park does it. They have the sign that says Hines Park, then they acknowledge the recreation center. I noticed that the Sorensen sign doesn't say Rouge Park on it. It just says Sorensen, as if Sorensen is its own separate park from Rouge Park. I think it's
the sign does says Rouge Park, and then it says Sorensen at the top.
Oh, okay. And then will there be one for the Brennan recreation area and another sign for the Cozy Corner recreation area as well?
So for Rouge North, yes. Cozy Corner, yes. But that I will get into that later. That project is actually being delayed. But yes, all of our park projects will have a sign. But I do want to keep in mind that we're thinking to have even a more bigger project with the signage. That way we can put a more broad design on the sign, such as the sign that's off of Warren. I believe that's Warren and
West Outer Drive.
Yes. So replacing that sign with something more significant. So hopefully we can get some funding that's more dedicated just to signage.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm just worried about we really would like a signage system throughout the park that's more unique to Rouge Park. So that just the standard sign, I know you sent me, that looks like every other little park sign in the city. We're just concerned that, it's just really important as Rouge Park gets developed and more happens. I just think it's important for Rouge Park to have an identity that's becoming of its largest park, major park of the city kind of designation, a really premier park, and not just another, the little cheap little signs. I just would hope that there would be a plan for wayfinding and signage throughout the park that's of a really good quality and really consistent and, well connected with signs that point people what's where without the park. And I'm just a little nervous about going ahead and starting to slap up the cheap standard signs and then later want to take them down and put up something that's really worthy of Rouge Park. So,
Paul, we do have it on our fundraising list, which is a pretty long list that we want not just signed, but like an entire branding, like a funding to do branding as well as signage, and we agree Rouge Park should have like a unique, maybe even like logo, font, that like the whole gamut. So that and that's not nearly as expensive as like redoing an entire playground, but it's something that so far hasn't gotten funded. But if you see any grants, I think we're on the same page. That's what we want. But the current requirements is that we have to have a sign up that acknowledges the funders. So until we have that like comprehensive brand and vision in place for the signs, I think we have to put up something. So we're just putting up our standard, which we can.
I just know that Brennan Recreation Area has never had a sign. Cozy Corner already has a sign, the little wooden one. I guess I'm just thinking to save money, maybe, don't put up a sign if we didn't have one at Brennan anyway. And
Yeah, it's a state grant requirement.
it does? Okay. Well, I just
Brennan
hope
does have a sign.
money on that and then have to pull them down, you know. So I'm just trying to save money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions with Rouge North? Okay, the other project I'm talking about is Rouge Sorensen, which is also currently under construction. And this project consists of a playground as well, picnic shelter, site amenities, sports fields, a walking loop, some walkway repairs, and other site amenities as well. And that should be completed this summer.
Awesome.
And I just want to say that has some Wayne County funding in it, so thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
The next any questions about Rouge Sorensen? Okay. The next project that we talk about is the Rouge Archery Range. I talked with Eric and Catherine about this as well. Got some good dialogue as far as getting what the archery range deserves. I mean, that actually just went out to bid not too long ago. So hopefully I'll hear back from them soon and start this project this summer as well. And we are familiar with what happened today as far as the flooding. So we're going to be addressing that as well.
Great. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about the river, but there are some drainage issues that are a problem that have nothing to do with
correct
the regular, I mean, the flooding you can't do anything about. Okay.
The next project, which actually got postponed, is Rouge Cozy Corner. That's actually going to be pushed back to 2021, and that project consisted of the bathroom parking lot, and also getting another picnic shelter, which will also be included in that project as well. So that got postponed.
Yeah, and Sally, I still do need to reach out to GM Cares because they're donating the shelter and we're providing the walkway and the pad and all the furniture for it. And since all got delayed, that was also delayed. So unless they have funding to kick in, unfortunately, the shelter is not going to happen until 2021.
But those, the sports fields will be completed, you know, because the site has been torn up for a really long period of time and has looked pretty awful.
Yeah, we're not very happy with the contractor because they were supposed to be done like in September. And these are the last ones for whatever reason. We're doing a number of fields throughout the city, and these are the last ones to get done. But you know, the contract's already completed, signed, and all that. So they're going to finish them hopefully very soon. But
yes,
they've already like gone when they were supposed to.
Okay, Paul had a question.
Yeah, the paved walking loop at Cozy Corner, is that going forward or not?
No, so unfortunately we didn't get the state grant. I have it on a list of, I have a potential funder for it, but it's up in the air right now. That included all the other improvements to that area, which were the walkway and some improvements to the playground. And Rashawn, what else was there in the state grant?
I think you touched it all.
Okay.
So the walkway isn't postponed, that isn't even funded yet. That's not part of it. Okay.
No, that's we applied for a state grant that we didn't get, and I was hoping to go for CDBG funding, community block grant funding, but that's all being prioritized right now because it can go towards emergency response. So we haven't forgotten. We can still go for it, but you know, everything's getting pushed back. That could get pushed.
I have a question for Juliana. How much of a grant do you need to do the cement work and the walkway at Cozy Corners so that the picnic shelter can be put in? How much of a grant would that be?
So the whole walking loop was very expensive, but just the pad is less. Rashawn, do you have that number?
I do not have that number, but it is significantly a large number because the walking loop for Cozy Corner is like long, so that
I know
takes up a lot of.
the
I'm
grant.
not talking about the walking loop, just the walkway to the picnic shelter.
For the GM shelter?
For the GM shelter and the cost to lay down the cement for it.
Yeah, so just what do we need, the cost, minimum cost so we can get it, the shelter?
Oh, for that, let me do some calculations really quick. I'm sorry, because I don't
While
have
he's
my.
calculating,
Yes.
the grant was for 500,000 with 300,000 from the state and 200,000 would be from the city, and that was for the playground improvements in the walkway. But we were hoping to get the shelter in before that.
Yeah, so this shelter is large, and from what I can remember, I believe the shelter was 30 by 70. And the concrete work is approximately 25,000 to 30,000 for the concrete.
Sounds right.
So total, the concrete and the walkway would be $40,000 ballpark.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna have to keep moving.
Another question, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Peggy.
For the athletic fields, what is the parking arrangement going to be?
So we are putting in a new parking lot that was on the side of the service drive, south of the Pistol Range. And I think Rayshawn shared plans with you last year. There's plenty of time to share them now. The project got delayed to 21. But that is the plan, is that with the sports fields, we are also getting the proper facilities for them, which is a bathroom and a parking lot.
Thank you.
And I believe that's all the projects for Rouge Park, unless I miss anything. Did I miss anything, Juliana?
Nope, I think that was, yeah, we talked about the sports field, so I think that's everything.
Okay, thank you so much. It's exciting to have all this work going on, and you know, maybe without people there, you can get all the stuff built quicker, so that the park is going to be looking wonderful by fall.
Playgrounds.
Yeah, I'm excited for Rouge. So we're almost there.
Yep. Well, thank you.
No problem.
So next item on the agenda, I just had ideas for new programs, and this is just to ask any of you, you know, given the current situation where, yes, the governor is slowly lifting shelter at home, but you know, we're still in a situation where we don't want large groups of people. We're still going to be needing to maintain that 6-foot distance and wearing masks and things. So just asking people for ideas for potential programs that we could do in Rouge Park that would keep people safe. But you know, there's a lot of kids that are sitting at home with nothing to do, and the more that we could offer them out in the park that they could do safely, the better off we're all going to be. So, you know, we started talking about some ideas like walking club, you know, with your 6-foot distance, maybe aerobics for seniors. I know that Jack had designed a scavenger hunt for the Stonebridge Trail, so maybe push that along. So if anybody has ideas like that, I would welcome you to share them. You know, email them to us. Just start thinking about them. But those are the kinds of things that we're going to be needing to start to work on as we come out of this whole thing. So we still have quite a few things on the agenda, so I am just going to move along. Grants-wise, we got some good news from Metro Parks, who's working on the Prairie. The REI just agreed to provide a grant. It's almost $8,000 to do some work at the Prairie with Metro Parks. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that. It would be improving the kiosk, getting a bench. I don't know, Juliana, if you remember more of the things that are in that. Trying to engage some volunteers too. I'm not sure how that's going to work given the current situation.
Yeah, I
but we-
actually haven't seen the final scope that went to the REI. So if you have it, can you share it with me? I asked Metropolitan and they didn't respond. Just need to keep track of it all.
Yeah. So that's going to be happening. We are in the process of applying to Kresge for the what is it? Keep Innovation KIPD grant. I'm blanking on what that stands for. Keep. Anyway, if Sam, go ahead. I'm gonna let Sam talk about it for a little bit.
So for KIPD, the Kresge Innovate projects, we are applying for a 2-year planning grant that would take into consideration some of the recent events with COVID-19. Certainly in its approach to be a little bit different. Our intent is to seek a lot of community input, hold a variety of different community engagement sessions to hear from you, hear from other park users who are not necessarily Friends of Rouge Park members, and especially just people from the neighborhoods nearby, what they would like to see in the park, what this organization can do. And it's a planning grant, so the intent is to build our capacity, work closely with the city, work with a handful of more invested organizations to have the capacity to make change. We've done a lot with an all-volunteer group, but a big step we have not been able to take yet is to transition to a staffed organization. We've had, this year we had an intern on for a little while. Last year we had a project manager on part-time, but the goal is really to build up slowly so that it's not a piece here, a piece there, but rather have somebody part-time for a full year, work our way up to full-time, and grow from there. Input from the greater community is really at the core of this, and that's really what Kresge is looking for too. So we think we have a good concept. We've received good feedback. Regardless of how this project goes, the process has helped us orient a bit from the board of directors, as well as just the whole thinking, the input that we've received for this, that this is something we can really do and should pursue as an organization across the next few years. Hopefully we have the funding that would help in the next 2 years. But if anything, it has given us some direction for how we can grow and support your interests and the greater interests.
Thank you, Sam. Somebody asked me to share the agenda, and just a time thing. We said we would end at 7:30. We have just quite a few more items. Are you guys willing to hang with us for 10 or 15 more minutes so we can get through this stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. So the third grant is, and this actually might help us a little bit. As many of you are aware, we've had a big problem with ATVs, all-terrain vehicles, two-wheelers, dirt bike, motorcycles that are going onto our nature trails and just tearing them to pieces and running over trees and things. So we have tried to do a little bit of working with the police to try to get them to ticket these people, because these off-road vehicles are not allowed in Detroit parks, period. You're not allowed to take a vehicle onto the grass, let alone on trails. So one of the things that we did to try to help this is came up with a proposal to put some signage in the front of these nature trails so that people are aware that they're violating the law if they're taking an off-road vehicle on them. And I don't know if Paul, if you could maybe share your screen if you have that proposal that you came up with.
Oh, I don't have it handy. I can.
Could you find that, and I'll talk about it a little bit. So,
Okay, sure.
So basically, Paul was looking at putting in the signage right in front of the trails, and he drafted a whole proposal, and then we asked the city for permission to do that. It's going to cost us, I think, $331, and then some manual labor to put in some 4x4 posts. And then it's basically putting these little square signs on the posts that would say no motorized vehicles, no bicycles. Of course, we would put one at the mountain bike trail, but that would not say no bicycles. So it'd be kind of different things for different trails. And if Paul can get that up there, and I guess I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Does that help?
Are you able to find that?
Yeah, I got it. I just couldn't
Okay.
get the agenda up. There you go. I can make that a little bigger so you can see it. So can everyone see it? Is that working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So these little dots here on the map are the places where the signs would go. They're basically every place where a trailhead is. You can get from the road onto one of our trails. So the Scout Hollow trailhead is here. I also included the drive-in exit entrance here to the drive-in to the Scout Hollow campground, because that's a really easy place to take a dirt bike right through. And then farther down, we have the trailhead to the Butterfly Garden, to the southern end of the Prairie Pathway. And you see that they're not just the no RIV and no motorcycle signs. There are also signs identifying them for nature viewing, for hiking, for cross-country skiing where appropriate, dogs on a leash, dogs allowed, but you see the little leash in the picture. So basically there'll be 4x4 posts with these 4-inch by 4-inch signs listed down the front of it. So very simple, pretty inexpensive, but they'll basically educate people as they're entering a trail, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and what's there. So, and if I can scroll down, the total cost here comes to about $331. I budgeted in $50 because I know that, because I've unfortunately actually met one of the kids on the dirt bikes, and I know that they'll immediately vandalize the sign at the place. We'll have to put it up again immediately. And hopefully once they realize that they can destroy it all they want, we're going to put it right back, that maybe they'll stop destroying it. But that's just what we have to do with the kind of people on the dirt bikes we have going in destroying the park.
Yeah, and I just want to add that we're working with the police on this as well from the city side. So.
Well, you know, the kid made a really good point that I talked to, who I stopped in the park. He told me that he actually talked to the police, and the police, he said, I don't know if it's true or not, but he said, number one, there's no sign telling me I can't do this. And I talked to the police, and he said, as long as I'm down away from the picnic areas, he didn't care what I did. And I don't know what police officer he talked to. He didn't get an officer's name. But it just pointed out the problem is that if we don't have clear signage, the police it's hard for them to enforce it. It's hard for people to even understand what the rules are. So
we have the park rules sign, and I'm sure it's in some locations. It's definitely in the parking areas, and it lists, you know, all of the rules. It even has the ordinances, so it can legally be enforced.
I know, but obviously there are
any police officer working in the park hopefully should be familiar with those. But
yeah, what signage helps. Then it just makes it nice and clear when we actually have a no motorcycles. You know, that just makes it much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to getting them and putting them in.
So thank you, Paul. Thank you, Juliana. And we are going to be providing the city for the police department with a list of the locations where we're seeing these vehicles doing a lot of damage. And also just hoping to get some clarification, because we're still a little confused. If you see a ATV tearing up the park, whether one should call 911 or just call the community officer, and we get really unclear messages about that. And I see Paula has her hand raised, so go ahead, Paula.
Yeah, the latest word from the chief's office is that it's not a life or death emergency, so you should not call 911, but you should call the precinct and report it. And then if no one comes out after you called the precinct to report it, then you should go up the command staff. So then you should go to Commander Williams, and then after you report it to Commander Williams, if some action isn't taken, then it should go to Captain Potts. So that's what they said at the last Board of Police Commissioners.
Okay. Does somebody else raise their hand? I don't see a raised hand.
It might have been me.
Okay, I said two.
Yeah, I'll put it down. It was.
Oh, hello.
Oh, Peggy. Peggy, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. But the police definitely are not on the same page on this, and I've called the desk about the issue and gotten a response. Well, no, we don't take care of that at the desk, and the police aren't on the same page about enforcement either, because some of them feel, irregardless of what the ordinance is, that they would just rather have people ride in the park than on the street. And so the police definitely aren't on the same page on that one either, no matter what the guys downtown say.
Thank you, Peggy. Yeah.
Okay, then I'd like to say maybe the board of the Friends of Rouge Park needs to have a meeting with Commander Williams to express our wishes and to get an affirmative word from him on how he wants us to proceed when we see that people are not abiding by the law. Since this is the 6th precinct, the park is in the 6th precinct, and it falls on our command staff to make sure that the ordinances are enforced. Maybe we need to do that.
Peggy, did you have your hand raised?
I think that would be a great idea. And that way then he could make sure that his desk, you know, when you call the precinct, that, you know, they would know what the boss wanted.
Okay.
And part of the issue is adults that come to the park too, because, you know, you get adults gonna try their 4-wheel thing pickup or whatever off the road, and you know, you see big ass pickup trucks stuck in the mud too. It's not just kids.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I guess the board will take that up and hopefully get you more information about that. We have just a few more items. Master plan report. Do you still want to do that, or do you want to just move to the history committee report, Paul? You need to unmute.
On the master plan, just very briefly, Eileen has been working really hard, and I've been working with her to try to put together a presentable draft, a very, very rough draft of the master plan that would work to submit with the KIPD grant to at least give the KIPD a sort of picture of where we're at with our master plan. By no means will it be a slick production, but I think it's getting to the point where at least it's readable. So, that's what there is on that.
Thank you.
I was thinking maybe in June. That's a little ambitious, but maybe having a presentation. I'm thinking it might be a little longer. So, so do you want me to go ahead with the history?
Yeah, I think just I know we've gone over a little bit, so maybe if we can just do briefly the history, and then I would like to give Patrick Droz a minute, because I didn't realize he was going to be on the call, and I'd love to just get an update, because I see you have a lot of work in the park on that project. So, so why don't you just go on to the history and.
Okay, well, I had a bunch of examples of the kind of stuff that Jim Westfall and I have been finding, searching through every article in the Detroit Free Press that mentions Rouge Park starting in 1919 through today. And just the stuff we're finding is just incredible, incredibly entertaining and interesting. And I had a couple of articles that I was going to go over, but I don't think we have time for that now. So maybe we'll do that next time. Just articles talking about this Common Council member who took the mayor, James Cousins. That name sound familiar? When
Yep.
Cousins was mayor, taking him out to this farmland outside the city. And he had this dream of making this into a park. And he'd been trying to get the mayor to come out. When he got the mayor to come out, the mayor was, his jaw dropped. This is the most beautiful spot. And basically signed on to the idea of creating Rouge Park. And, you know, then a lot of articles. I have one article from 1927. There's a big photo essay of pictures of Rouge Park that are just amazing to look at from 1927. So anyhow, so suffice it to say that we have until June 30th that Jim and I and Fred are all, you know, just combing through, collecting stuff. And one of the things about this, our plan is that all these articles are just bits and pieces of information, and they would be great if we can follow through with that plan of getting a history intern from Wayne State. Wayne State has offered a history intern to us. I'm thinking we can have that person take these articles and follow them as leads and do the background research, because there's so many names, places, and events and interesting things that just need to be pursued further. And eventually I want to see, you know, I want to see a little booklet, History of Rouge Park booklet. So with photos and information. So it's been really interesting, really exciting, right, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. The articles just kind of draw you in, and they really captivate you. There's been a lot of different things that I never realized happened in the park before. I know there was a couple of murders, one involving the ambassador's nephew, and there was an axe murder a couple blocks west of the park. And you know, you just kind of get drawn into these stories and you follow them through, and it's really been fascinating. And just, you know, everyday type things, you know, different clubs and organizations that met in the park. They had like a camera club, a nature club, all these different things that happen there that most people don't even realize. So it's been real enlightening.
Yeah, great stuff. We just need somebody to write a book because there's so much great information. Love to have that for the park. And I know that you guys have been talking about doing a history moment, maybe for a newsletter. So highlight one of these interesting stories in our online newsletters. So great. Well, thank you. I am going to move on for, I think, what will be maybe our last item, except for maybe some brief reports. But I did want to ask Patrick if you could just take a minute and give us an update on what's going on with green infrastructure projects in the park. Oh, there you are. You're in two different places.
Sure. Okay. Sorry. Hopefully this works. So thanks for giving me a few minutes here. I'll be brief because I know it sounds like a lot of great discussion. But I'll touch on a couple things. So we last met with you guys back in January and gave kind of a high-level overview of what is going to be happening in the park. And just for those that weren't at the meeting, my name is Patrick Joes. I'm a project manager with OHM, and we're working on a sewer separation project in the area west of Parkland and north of Warren in the adjacent to Rouge Park. So what we're doing as part of the project is we're doing a sewer separation, which should help to reduce the amount of sewer overflows to the Rouge River. There's an outfall just north of the Warren Avenue Bridge that will be greatly reduced in terms of how much that operates. So the first thing I wanted to bring to everybody's attention is we're going to be doing a public meeting virtually. And it's actually going to be for the 28th of May. And so you will probably, if you live in the neighborhood, basically anything north of Warren to the west city limit, Parkland on the east, and basically up to all the way up to, I want to say, where Parkland makes the bend at the far north end of that area. We'll get a flyer in the mail hopefully this week.
Looks like we might have lost Patrick. So I was going to ask him if that's something that he'd give us the information on. We could put it out to our group, to anybody concerned about the park. I don't know if others of you have seen some of the heavy equipment working on that project. So unless he comes back in the next few minutes, I guess we'll have to get some details from him. I'll try to get that flyer, and especially those of you in the neighborhood, look for that flyer. Please attend, please ask a lot of questions. You know, this project should be beneficial overall to the watershed, but we want to make sure that they don't do too much damage to our park, because they are using it for this situation. Just very briefly, I don't have the Buffalo Soldiers on. Detroit Outdoors, Garrett, anything from the camping initiative?
No, I think, like I had mentioned earlier, you know, we're really kind of figuring out a new approach for this summer. We've pretty much canceled our early summer trainings and our leadership trainings for the end of the summer in August and September. Most likely won't take place. So just stay tuned. We're trying to figure out a way to support people connecting with nature.
Thank you. Thank you. It's kind of a tough situation there. And then Eric, anything else on the archery range?
Good to know that we're addressing the four-wheelers, because we have a lot of deep ruts down there. I don't know who made them, but trying to cut the grass and jump these ruts is really working on my back. So hopefully we can get the ruts taken care of and the four-wheelers all at the same time. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
One other thing. I need, Paula, if you could send me somewhere I can send my check for my membership, I sure would appreciate it. I'm pretty sure you have my email address.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. I thank you.
Okay, and Catherine, you had your hand up there?
Yeah, very quickly. Last year, I think it was part of the Cody Rouge planning effort that was undertaken by the city. There was the consultant that came out with some young people, and they took a lot of pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They said that they were going to share those pictures with us. So we need to be able to get in contact with him so we can get those pictures, so we can use it for our website and other materials.
Okay, I have their contact. I can get that to you.
Okay,
it was,
thank you.
Hector Consultants and Damon and the woman. So.
Okay, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Okay, well, thank you so much. We made it through our first Zoom meeting. We'll get better at this. I really look forward to the time when I can see you all in person, but thanks for sticking with us for a little bit longer. This stuff takes time, and we just really appreciate your love for the park and all that you do. So thanks. Hope to see you soon.
Be safe.
Thanks, Sally.
Be safe, everybody. Great job, Sally.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Be good.
Bye.
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 My bad. I'm so sorry.
Juliana?
Yes, I'm responding to someone really quick.
Yeah, Roger. I just wonder if we should like put big signs at all the entrances that say specifically like no ATVs. Would that, you think, would that help at all, or?
I mean, I don't know. I would think the police would know what to do and would be enforcing it when they see it, but it didn't sound like that from Peggy. I know there's been a lot of discussion about what kind of signage we should use for COVID, and just personally, I'm a little disappointed with the way it's turned out. Is that we've decided things are moving too fast. Policies are changing so that we can't do signage. I think a lot of other park systems have. Not my choice though. So we currently aren't doing any signage relating to COVID. I know this isn't exactly COVID, related, this would be something else. So I think it's what Paul's trying to do is put up those little icon signs that show no motorized vehicles.
Yes, because I was supposed to get a hold of you months ago about putting up signs at the 4 entrances about no ATVs and dogs must be on a leash and stuff.
Yeah, so we do have new park rule signs. Do you remember them? They were teal. They had either 21 or 11 points on them. It was like a small novel.
Yeah, well, that's what I did with Mona
We have
Ali.
one that's better. It's almost all icons, just like as limited text as possible. So they're a lot more legible and hopefully enforceable, and people will pay attention because it's mostly pictures now rather than text. And we just are starting the next round of printing. So I can put in a request to put some up, some of the new ones whenever they are printed, which hopefully in the next month or so at the trailhead. So I could request that. I think
Okay.
Now, would those be big enough that you could read them at the park entrances? Could you read them from a car?
So they're the same size as like a no parking sign along the road. So they really are designed to be within, I'd say, 12 feet of, not driving by far away. And we typically put them in parking areas and park entrances. But if you all want to think about where you think we should put the park rule sign, and get back to me, maybe just put dots on a map or just tell me the locations, I can put in the request. And when we get the new ones printed, hopefully get some in.
Okay, because I don't know how many entrances there are to the park, and I would think that ATVs can get into the park from so many different places.
Yeah.
You know, might need 1,000 signs. I don't know, but
well, it's kind of diminishing returns.
Yes, I know.
But I guess what I'm thinking is what Juliana is talking about. Are those going to be an improvement over the blue signs at the entrances of the parks that just have tiny little writing that nobody can see because they're driving by in a car and therefore they can't ever read them? And I understand the intent that then therefore the police can enforce because they're posted, but it's still, our intent would be so that people, when they drive, from especially the major entrances, like they're coming in from Dearborn Heights or they're coming in from Plymouth Road, that they would go, oh, this is a park and there are some regulations. But those things don't do much for us because they can't really see them. Sounds like maybe what you have with icons would at least make people look a little bit more. Maybe from their car they could see some of the icons. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just looking really quick to see if I can find, because we don't, I'm working remotely. If I have one of this kind.
Maybe you could send it to us.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I hear.
I'm gonna. I have it open. Let me just grab it and share my screen, and I can share this next time too, when we have the whole group. So here's the new park rule sign. So as you can see, it's a lot more icons and text. It's the same size as the other one. It's a little darker. And so it has the no parking or driving of motorized vehicles on non-designated areas. So
I would love it if you had the no motorcycle off-road vehicle on there too.
this is a city-wide one. So I feel like we could add something maybe at the bottom, but this is like the official approved one. It does say something about no ATVs, but it's,
Yeah, right here. No.
yeah, it's in the small print.
I can't really read it.
But it does say motorized vehicles, non-designated areas. So I feel like it.
Yeah.
It's covered. It also has the dogs must be on a leash and.
Yeah. Well, that's good because I hear ATVs going down Tireman and getting into the park from Tireman and Spinoza. So.
Yeah. So if there's anywhere you want us to put these signs, we can put these up. We don't have specific no ATV signs, but again, if you have them, we can probably get them approved and have our crews put them up. Okay.
Okay. Roger, do you want to talk about where we would want these?
Well, I think Paul and I, a couple years ago, figured out there was like 14 entrances into the park. And I don't know if we're still planning on shutting some of them down, but I would think if we could get 14 signs.
Is that a possibility, Juliana? Or
I can request it.
okay. All right. Well, I can ask Paul to put that information together.
Rouge is a big park.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, we print hundreds at a time, and Rouge is the big park. I mean, we have 300 parks, but you know, I can request it, and if they say no, then I can let you know.
Okay, we'll put it in.
A couple.
Because I think Paul knows where all the entrances
He does.
are.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I don't know where
It
they are.
would be helpful if I had just like a Google image with like some dots on it that I could forward to our park development team.
Yeah, he would have that.
Awesome. Okay, I think I gotta go.
Yeah. Me too. Okay, I like the flower behind your head.
Thanks. It was supposed to bloom at Christmas. It was a little confused, so I moved it out so people on Zoom can see my flower.
It's amaryllis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it was my grandfather's actually, so it's still going.
Oh my God! Wow, awesome.
I haven't killed it yet.
Good job. Okay, well, thanks so much. Great to see you. Thanks, Roger.
Good night.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Be safe.
Yeah.